Welcome to day 12 of the Higgins Keto blog.
13.
Is today 13?
Well, it's actually day 14. We're talking about yesterday.
Well, it's day 14, but we're talking about yesterday, which is day 13.
Right.
Which she's correct. Okay, I've done this the past couple times. I've had to look at her and verify what day it is because I'm getting lost in my days here. Here's what I want. I want one day to go by where we don't have something major or drastic going on in our lives. That's what I want.
Wonderful thing called life. Babe.
Yeah, because it seems like every single day I'm sitting here working on this, and all of a sudden something drastic happens, and all of a sudden I'm playing catch up, and then I lose track of what day it is. So, yeah. So thank you, baby, for catching me back up as to where we are. So day 13, okay, of the Higgins Keto blog. We have had several things happen this past week, some of which we've discovered just yesterday. So we wanted to pinpoint those. Some things that we're not going to be doing right now, but we discovered things that we can do once we've actually reached the goals that we have in mind. One of those things being the polydextrose?
Yes, polydextrose.
Yeah,
so
you talk about it.
If anyone has done any type of baking and have used Poly-D essentially is a filler.
It's a manufactured fiber.
Right, but it acts as a filler.
Right.
And that's probably not, it's the best way that I can describe it.
Well, from a cooking standpoint, with what I read that you sent me, from a cooking standpoint, it holds on to moisture just like sugar does, but it acts like a fiber.
Right.
So you
can use it in lieu of sugar. Instead of a sweetener, so to speak,
right.
You could use this. And whereas, for example, if anyone has ever baked with Splenda or stevia, how it's very flat and there's no volume to it, whereas Poly-D apparently is very different.
Right.
From what we've read, it smells like vanilla cake batter. And it's quite substantial. Yeah. It has the ability to caramelize.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
Something that sweeteners don't do.
Right, because the artificial sweeteners don't caramelize them. This does. So it's going to be interesting once we actually get to use this stuff. I believe you already ordered some, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, she already ordered some, but obviously we're not going to use it until we can actually.
Let me explain to you why this even came about. Because I love brownies.
Right.
And if anyone knows me, I don't like cakey brownies.
Trust me, I made them wrong one time.
They have to be very fudgy, thick, extremely chocolatey. So, of course, I'm looking online for recipes for keto-friendly brownies that don't look like a dry cake. Right. So, one of the recipes that I came across, of course, there's the avocado, which I like avocado, but I'm a little nervous about making a brownie out of avocados.
Well, there's also the black bean brownies, which would be the same thing.
Which I have tried, and they were disgusting.
I've never tried them, so I don't know.
And they were cakey.
But then again, my wife thinks almost everything on the planet is disgusting.
This is not true. This is not true. However, I came across a picture where they had two different types of pictures. Right. The one picture did not have any type of Poly-D. Right. It was using, other types of sweetener. I want to say there was one aspect that they did use, and I'm trying to think. Psyllium, was it psyllium something?
Yeah, I forget what it's called.
Psyllium husk, I think it is.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's something you have to add. It's also a density thing. Right.
So the one recipe called for the psyllium husk powder along with the sweetener. Right. The brownie still turned out very cakey. However,
when they added
in lieu of the psyllium husk powder and the sweetener, using the Poly-D instead, it gave volume to the brownie, and it also made it very fudge-like. And there was a drastic difference.
Now, they did say in order to keep the fudge-like consistency the way you like it, it did say to pull it early. Right. So it wasn't completely cooked through.
For that recipe in particular. Right. I don't know if that is, the rule of thumb for any type of recipe that you cook with, but for that recipe in particular.
All right. My question is what's it taste like?
Well, if it smells like vanilla cake batter, it has to taste good. And it has a little bit of a stickiness to it, which is not the case when you cook with
and that's the reason why it can caramelize, because it does have that consistency. Here's the reason why we cannot use it now until we reach our goal, is because even though it's mostly fiber, it's 27 grams of carbs total
for 2 tablespoons.
For 2 tablespoons.
Right.
Now, according to all the research we did, 25 of those are considered fiber, the insoluble type. Okay, so
regardless of whether it's soluble or insoluble.
Well, the insoluble, because that goes into the whole thing with playing with the blood sugar levels and
regardless, if it's soluble or insoluble, it's counted as fiber. So those that count net carbs,
it doesn't count.
You can deduct.
So that leaves only 2 left. So that's the reason why it's considered a low carb alternative, because technically it's not supposed to affect your blood glucose levels at all. Okay, there's a lot of debate on that, and nothing's been scientifically proven, and we're not experts either.
But the point of the matter is, when it gets to the point of our being able to do maintenance, and we're counting net carbs versus total carbs.
Well, and plus that also, once you get to maintenance, which, by the way, this is something that we're all working for, because once you get to maintenance, your carb levels, I mean, you still can't have the cakes and the cookies and the crap like that. But,
all the time.
But it takes your carb levels up to 50 to 70 for maintenance. Okay, so 50 to 70 versus 20
is a huge jump.
I mean, that's more than 2 to 3 times. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, he is.
I'm at 216 this morning, which makes it a 10-pound now, right? Because it started at 226. Are you still 11?
No, technically it's 12 pounds.
Oh, 12 pounds. Okay, so she's down 12 now. We have a running bet, which I'm going to play on before we move to the next thing. I told her she's going to lose. And it's the goal is not to our goal, but to 25 pounds. Okay, and the reason why we can't do it to the goal is because 25 pounds is at my goal.
He'll reach his way before I do.
So there's where we are right now, and I told her she's going to lose, and lose big. So
he's just making a bet is all that it is, because he likes competition.
Oh yeah, I love competition.
And he knows that I hate to be told that I cannot do something.
There is no psychology at this at all, right?
No, none whatsoever.
Okay. All right, so that's that. My wife now is going to tell you about the signs of the transition into ketosis.
It's just signs indicating that you are in ketosis, not transition.
Okay, I read something completely different. But anyway, you go ahead and explain that, and explain the ones that you're having.
Well, the whole purpose of my even doing the research is because I could not understand why it is that I still have such, why I'm so tired still, and the occasional bouts of dizziness. I've noticed now that there were times where I just absolutely have no desire to eat whatsoever. Yesterday, I barely drank my coffee. I did not have any additional coffee last night at all. This morning, I probably had taken 2 sips out of my coffee. Excuse me, I have to sneeze. Oh my goodness. 2 sips out of my coffee, and that was that. But for those of you that have been on the ketogenic diet, probably the one thing that you have noticed first and foremost is the keto icky mouth taste.
Oh yeah.
So having bad breath, that is definitely a sign of, you being in ketosis.
You'll find yourself brushing your teeth several times a day.
Oh, like me. I do it constantly. The other aspect, having that fruity scent to your breath, which I do not have. I do not have a fruity scent. But that just means that you have ketones, that you're blowing off the ketones, and that aspect. The other if you had the ability to check, you could check and see that you have ketones in your blood.
Right. That's what the ketone strips that we bought before.
No, that's for urine.
Well, but if it's in the urine, isn't it in the blood?
No. You can have 2 different levels. Am I explaining this or are you?
Hey, I'm trying to get this stuff through. I'm not a nurse.
Right.
So I'm trying to get this stuff through my head too.
With that being said, if you have a way to monitor your blood levels, checking to see that you have ketones in your blood, if you have purchased the keto sticks that like we have done, then you can check to see that they're in your urine. That's one aspect. The other is having the fatigue, and it's supposed to be a short period of time. There have been several articles that we have read where it indicated, the longest is 6 weeks.
Right.
It can be as short as what my husband has experienced.
Which is less than a week.
And some have, not experienced it at all.
Right.
I, for whatever reason, I'm tired. I mean, yesterday I had to take a nap.
Right, and we're at the 2-week mark.
Right. So heaven only knows what that means for me.
I honestly think that this week's going to be your week. Because her symptoms have been getting worse this week.
It's just craziness.
Which is the reason why I think that she's almost to the tripping point. Because mine got worse the day before I was like, oh, well, look at this. It's
right.
I'm in. Okay, so I honestly think that's the reason why you're seeing it get as bad as it is because your body's about ready to switch over because it's now completely deprived of any of those glycogen stores that you had that was in the muscles or anything.
Well,
because remember, it has to get rid of all that stuff before it can switch over to ketones.
Well, no. So the other aspect to indicate that you are definitely in ketosis is having the weight loss, which I've had.
Right. Well, but you get that with transitional weight, too, because of the water loss.
When you're in ketosis, you have weight loss, okay? So that means your body is utilizing the fat stores and not just the carbs that you currently have been running on, first and foremost. As a result, the body tends to dehydrate itself, which is why initially it's water weight because of that, which is essentially what my husband was referring to when he keeps using the term transition. You're in ketosis. There's no transition. You're in ketosis.
Whatever.
The transition that he keeps referring to is just getting past all of this, in which case then you have totally adapted to being in ketosis. And so that's essentially what that amounts to. There is the appetite suppression. They really have no understanding as to why that is because it doesn't make any sense. They're still doing research on it. But there are some individuals where they actually have this natural appetite suppression as a result of going into ketosis.
Well, babe, one of the articles I read said it's because your body is burning fats now. It's actually using your fat stores.
It's
therefore,
one of the theories.
Yeah, therefore that's the reason why you're not as hungry is because it's got if you have a lot of excess fat, it's already got plenty of food.
Well, okay, so that's one of the theories.
Right.
The other theory aspect is just that with the increased intake of fat, that the fat in of itself is enough to satiate you to where you're not hungry anymore. So,
well, that might have something to do with the fact that the fat has more calories per gram than either protein or carbs. Right.
As to why, but to pinpoint one exact reason, they really don't.
Right,
know.
and that's the one thing I figured out about this, and nobody knows exactly because, as there was a doctor I was seeing a while back, and he goes, we actually know less than 5% of what's necessary to know why things happen in the human body.
Right.
So it's like he goes, so basically, a lot of the times what we're doing is this is an educated guess,
right,
based on what we do know.
Right.
And that's what we're finding. So a lot of this stuff is we're sitting here going, okay, we're seeing this, we're seeing this, we're seeing this. Now, are there aspects of our transition that are slightly different than what some of the other people have said or claimed?
Because everybody is an individual.
Right.
So everyone's going to experience something
Your
different.
body is going to act the way your body's going to act.
So aside from having the periods of fatigue, you'll also notice that you'll have a decrease in your performance level. So exercising, for example.
Right.
I did not exercise today. Yesterday we took a walk.
Power walk.
Yes, a power walk. Friday, I actually did not do anything on Friday, but Monday through Thursday, and I'll tell you why I didn't do anything on Friday, because on Tuesday and Thursday, I was getting up and I was doing a HIIT, the high intensity interval training.
Which she shouldn't have done.
Which totally wiped me out.
Right. And did I already explain that?
Well, that's part of what you see when you're doing when you know that you're in ketosis. You actually have a decrease in your performance level.
Right. And I actually watched a video on this on a guy who literally teaches this over in Europe. And he went into this thing. He goes, during your transition phase, and that's the reason why I call it this, because everybody who's gurus in keto call it the transition phase. Okay, that's why I call it that, because that's what they call it.
And I think that they're using it to mean before you actually get to being adapted to being in ketosis.
Exactly.
But you're in ketosis, though.
Oh, my Lord.
So it's a transition to you becoming adapted.
What part of this did nobody else get? I understand that. Everybody else understands that. But for some reason, my wife has to be that clinical. Anyway, talk about the fact that during the transition phase into total adaptation, okay, you're supposed to do nothing but aerobic type exercise. You're not supposed to do anything that's anaerobic, because your body doesn't have the glucose in the blood and the muscles.
I thought I was dying. I'm like, I typically am quite capable of doing a HIIT. Right. What is wrong with me?
Because she hadn't fully adapted yet.
Yes.
It was basically her body sitting here going, wait, crap, I don't have the energy for this.
Oh, and you talk about, so that carries over into the extreme dizziness that I've experienced, especially after the power walk, because here we were, walking alongside the ocean, gorgeous view, but in the hot sun, first thing in the morning, and I was dizzy and had to lay down. I was wiped out.
And I'm going to point out something else that might have contributed to that fact, is the fact that my wife had went on this power walk. By the way, this was late mid-morning.
It was not. It was 10:30 in the morning.
That's late mid-morning.
It was early morning.
Noon is at 12, so in an hour and a half it was noon.
Anyway,
but the thing is, she had not yet drank a single drop of water. You think that might have done something? I think so.
It was 10:30 in the morning. When am I going to down 32 ounces of water?
I already had.
Well, because you're a liquid drinker. I am not.
But the point is, she was dehydrated already.
Well, whatever. So I was low on sodium, evidently. I was so dizzy it wasn't even funny. But getting back to the signs of being in ketosis.
Because we don't want to stick on the point that, she did something wrong, because that would be hard for us to understand. Anyway.
I love my husband. I love my husband.
I love you too. That's why I want to keep you around for a while.
Eventually, after all of that goes away, then you have, like what my husband tries to demonstrate, increased energy, increased focus. And that's what we all are striving towards, having that burst of energy and being able to focus on, what's going on in our lives, that type of thing.
Right.
And then there's two other signs, which I think off and on we both have kind of had. Digestive issues, whether it be constipation or diarrhea, and then the last sign is insomnia.
Yeah, and I know that this isn't pleasant to talk about, but I even came to her the other day, and I knew that the extra gooky crap that's inside your intestinal tract was sloughing off because it was very evident in the loo. So
it's a good thing I'm a nurse, and I can just,
So, yeah, I mean, your body's being cleaned out. Right. All this crap's coming out, and when it does, you're going to have it's not full-blown, don't let anybody tell you it's full-blown diarrhea. If you're having full-blown diarrhea, something else is going on. But this is just that sluffy stuff, so it's very loose and weak and doesn't hold together well because it's all the crap that's being cleaned out of your system. It's not diarrhea to the fact where, I can't, I go to the bathroom and I don't even know what's going to happen.
I mean, some individuals, if they truly are having that ketogenic flu, It could be.
But I think that we've alleviated some of that ketogenic flu symptoms because we have paid attention to what other people said. They said, well, I make sure you're doing this, make sure you're doing this. So we bought the lemon juice, and we've been having lemon every single day, which stabilizes the digestive system.
Right.
Okay, so we've been doing that. So we haven't had the drastic and everything else.
I will say we definitely have not had any symptoms of being in full keto flu.
Right.
The headaches, yes. The dizziness, yes. The fatigue.
But my headaches weren't that big, and to the extent that it did happen to you, I mean, Sean is already prone to having headaches in the first place. So, and really, they weren't. I mean, they weren't extreme migraines.
No, they weren't like a full-blown migraine, which would put me down for days. But still, it just, having that aspect, there's definitely that.
And I think the reason why we haven't had the severe symptoms like other people have talked about is the fact that we did do the research first. We didn't just jump into this thing not learning anything.
Right.
We jumped into this and we said, okay, now we're going to research every single day. What should we be doing? What it is? And we found all the websites, people that have been through it before, just like you guys watching us. But, we watch videos on other people, and we watch stuff with everything else going on, and we read articles after article after article, even the ones that disagree with the one we just read. We're reading them to find out, okay, should we be doing this? Should we be doing this? And then we put our heads together and go, which one do we want to do? And that's the one we decide on. And lo and behold, we haven't had the severe symptoms. Now, that may be just us, okay?
And again, everyone is different,
right?
So it depends. But those essentially are the symptoms letting you know that you are in ketosis. If you're, and again, just to reiterate, because some people, if you're using the keto sticks and all of a sudden you notice that there's nothing on the strip, nothing changes, it doesn't mean that you're not burning fat. It just means that your body has finally adapted.
Right.
And you're not spilling over any additional ketones. That's all that it means. So as long as you continue to lose weight and you haven't really changed anything in terms of your macros, you should be fine.
Your liver is very good at doing its job. So if we can just stick with it, things will start looking better. You'll keep losing weight. Are you going to every once in a while have the symptoms? Yes. When we drink our BP coffee,
I've not been able to do.
Right, but I've noticed that when I drink water for the rest of the day, I mean, literally up to 3 hours later, I can still feel the oily residue coming off the back of my throat from where I drank that, and it's like, it's that whole, because it is a lot of fat. And so, those are things you just have to work through. One of the things that we found that we are going to put together, because both of us have been low on our fats.
Right. So snacks, what to do for a snack that targets the amount of grams of fat that you still need to fulfill without going over in your protein, without obviously going over in your carbs.
Right.
Because the majority of you, if you're keeping track of your macros, you'll notice that, okay, I've reached my carb limit, but wow, I still have X number of calories and X number of grams of fat.
Well, let me give you mine as an example. And the reason why I want to do this is because mine is a lot more drastic than hers is. I'm supposed to have 20 carbs, right? Standard, just 20 carbs. 106 grams of protein. But my fat requirement per day is 173.
And that's because you want to have more fat intake in comparison to protein.
So it's like that 173 is hard to hit. I mean, the best I've done to this point is 160. I've always been low because unless I want to sit there and just eat a stick of butter, which, no, I wouldn't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to hit that level, so I'm trying to figure out ways to do that. Well, we found some recipes. Well, okay, I'm not going to lie. My wife found these recipes and then sent them to me. So I haven't really had a chance to read them yet. So please explain what they are to
So a good majority of individuals, after, doing your research and everything regarding the ketogenic diet in general, you'll come across recipes, especially if you are no stranger to Pinterest, like I am no stranger to Pinterest.
We love Pinterest.
You will come across recipes that are called fat bombs.
Right.
And essentially that's precisely what it is. It is a, treasure trove of fat that you can ingest, and it helps with where you are, deficient, so to speak, in your macros, whereas fat is concerned. Some of the recipes, like one in particular today that we are going to try, it is a pumpkin spice fat bomb, and it essentially entails coconut oil, butter, a half a cup of pumpkin, and
cream cheese.
Yes, cream cheese, and it calls for liquid stevia.
Right, which we don't have, but we're going to try to get some.
Yeah, we'll get some liquid stevia, but you mix everything together and you stick it in the fridge, let it firm up for a little bit. You take it just for 10 minutes. You take it back out of the fridge and you make balls out of it.
Right.
So a serving size literally is just one of these little balls that you make, and you stick them in the refrigerator. Now, others that we've come across, which is why I had my husband buy a mold, because you can, and he didn't buy a decorative mold, but that's okay.
They were more expensive.
You can buy little decorative molds, and they can either look like a frozen Reese cup
or hearts or whatever shape you want to get the mold to look like.
Right. So essentially what you're making a frozen treat because they have to stay in the freezer.
And here's the thing too. One of the things I did look up before I actually bought the mold. I looked up what mold she was talking about, and it's got to be the silicone molds.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Because you don't want a hard mold.
No.
Because then you'll break those things trying to get them out.
Right.
Okay, so you want to get silicone molds, which I just got. Well, mine does kind of look like little mini Reese cup things. It just doesn't have the ribbed edge.
Okay.
So.
Well, either way, if you aren't into using the silicone mold, you can use miniature cupcake papers, the liners, and you can fill it up in that. So for those, the kind that actually go in the freezer, they're either like a cheesecake. Right. You can make a cheesecake out of them, and they have multiple flavors.
Yeah, and I could even see us buying some sticks and getting the molds that you put the stick in and make it look like stick pop.
That would be a little more than, because remember, it's just a serving.
Well, but you can get those stick pops in any size. They make ones that are only like this big around that you stick on a stick.
Okay, whatever.
I look for cooking stuff all the time, so I know about certain things, and my wife thinks that everything has to be huge. So you ought to see the dinners she made.
I had 12 people that I was
And when there was only 4 people in the house, she still cooked like she was cooking for 12 people.
What can I say? But anyway, so I was doing some research on that. I plan on making the pumpkin spice. The pumpkin spice fat bombs, quite strangely, do not need to be frozen. But the other recipes that I came across had to be frozen. That could be. I don't know. But you have to eat them quickly, because between the coconut oil, the butter, the moment it comes to room temperature, it's not going to hold its shape. Right. It's going to melt. So it's just enough to satisfy your craving, so to speak, or to just have that treat, so that you are fulfilling your fat requirements.
Right.
So
we have not yet looked into any research on the amount of artificial sweetener, or, well, it's not really artificial, it's stevia that we're ingesting. I'm going to do a little more research on that, make sure that we don't want to ingest too much.
Right.
Just because of I don't know if there's any side effects to stevia or not. I really don't.
It's a natural plant.
Right.
But I know that we can grow our own stevia.
Well, but that's using the stevia leaf to sweeten things, not the man-made processing that makes it into a powder.
Yeah, I had a nursing student years ago actually give to me, it was in a baggie, and she had wrapped the plant in a wet paper towel and stuck it down inside of the bag, and she rolled it up and she gave it to me, and I was like, oh my, you know what this looks like.
Oh, by the way, just to let you know right before we go, because I know we're almost at 30 minutes here, one of the things I want to tell you is that we did not get the cheesecake made.
No, I was dizzy.
She was dizzy, so I let her off the hook on that, even though I really, really wanted it. I did make waffles this morning using the pancake mix, but I just added a couple things extra to it, like oil, so that it could actually work in a waffle maker. And they turned out, they were thicker and heavier than what you'd normally think a waffle should be, but they were good.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that they were heavier. They were about the density of a waffle. They just weren't the same as the pancakes.
Right.
So.
Yeah, because the pancakes were more airy, whereas these weren't. Right. And I think that's because with the waffle maker, you close a lid on it, it holds it down. So where instead of on a pancake, it just allowed to rise wherever it wants to rise to. So I think that was the reason behind that. So once we get that cheesecake made, then I will definitely let you know, because I'm a cheesecake lover and she makes great cheesecakes, and we'll see what the keto cheesecake's like. So we will end it there and let you guys go for today. But we are moving on day by day and finding out things every single day, just like you. So you guys
until tonight.
Until tonight, you guys have a great day. Bye.